Hey everybody, it's Ketsneb here with episode 4 of the Kets Play series of our Rust Beginners tutorial videos. Here we have our base. We constructed this last video, so if you want to check that out, the link is going up in the corner of this video. So we have upkeep time on our tool cupboard for 2 days. That's plenty, and we also have a spawn point, which is really cool. Now the next thing we need to look into is getting a sheet metal door on here. So wood is quite easy to raid because it's obviously vulnerable to fire. If we can get a sheet metal door, so I press tab, go into crafting, here sheet metal door, costs 150 metal fragments, but if we can get that, it is much more solid than a wooden door. It's still vulnerable to explosives, but you know, most people will not have access to those in early game, so it will give you a little bit of time to be able to get it upgraded to armoured in due course. Now the ways we could get metal fragments are, well, there's 2 ways really. You can farm metal ore from metal nodes and then burn them in a furnace, or you can find tinned goods and then burn them on a campfire. You could also go to places like these abandoned supermarkets. You might be able to just see it off in the distance there, and farm components which can then be recycled to get metal fragments. Luckily we're in a fairly tepid environment, so we can stay naked. Obviously if we were in the cold, we might need to consider some burlap shorts or a shirt or something like that. Some more cloth. Take all of this. Here we have some barrels. These are where you're going to get components. It's worth being aware that some of these little areas like this in these fences can have radiation. I'm not sure if this will. Yeah, there you go. Whoa. So radiation is really bad because obviously it ticks away. So I had 16 radiation there, so that means that over time it will take 16 points of my health. So if you get high radiation poisoning, it can be really dangerous. There are ways to avoid radiation poisoning. So if you have various clothing on, all the way up to a hazmat suit, so a radiation proof suit, various levels will help you to varying degrees. And you might also find in some crates and things radiation pills that will help you too. Now I'm actually just going to eat a couple of pumpkins here. Now here we are at a monument. I am being fairly blasé because I know that there's nobody else on the server, but these areas here would be, that's a central point for finding people. You'll notice that there are little piles. So here we've got a truck with a barrel in it. You also find trash piles like you can see over there with the blue barrels, and you might find crates like that one there too. When you take all the barrels away, the entire scrap pile will be destroyed. So you can use a hatchet or your pickaxe. Ideally you might want to use bone tools, but we haven't killed anything yet to get bones. So I'm just going to whack this. And you'll notice there are a few things here. Scrap and a blueprint. If I press tab, it will tell me what the blueprint is, and I can click on that and learn it. So in the first video I told you about blueprint wipes and full wipes. Blueprints are things that you have learnt and nobody can take away from you. So if there's a blueprint wipe, it means that everybody loses their blueprints. But if there is not, the map can wipe without taking your blueprints away. Let's have a look at. Oh, hazmat suit. I'm actually going to wear that. Gears and scrap. Now, actually, if I put that back there, I can't. You can click and drag, but you can also. I'll show you if I find another crate. But you can also just right-click, and then it will quickly gather anything that's about. So this one here, I'll be able to show you. So there's a tin and some water. If I right-click, that will hop over into my inventory. Oh, wood shutters. What's this? Oh, another blueprint. Nice fireplace. Often the blueprints that you get in these sort of areas are not that great, but it's worth sort of selecting them anyway. So you can hack away at these quite merrily until we find things. Open this toolbox. Got a shirt and some scrap. Brilliant. I'll head back to the supermarket in a second. Here's a little bit of wood. You might find those lying around. Ah, a red barrel. So these will give us hopefully low grade and crude oil. So you can see it there. Low grade fuel is 8, and then crude oil. Crude oil in its basic form is not that helpful to us, but it can be refined at an oil refinery to create more low grade. So all these things I'm collecting from the barrels are called components. So rope, tarp, springs and gears. At the start of the game you can afford to recycle most of those things apart from the scrap. The scrap won't be recycled. Oh, we're getting into the snow, it might get a bit cold there. Ooh, a silencer. Now, as I said earlier, I'm being pretty blasé about this because I know there's nobody else on the server, but these would be a really tense place to be hacking away loudly with my axe. Ooh, guitar. One of my first experiences of Rust was I just spawned in, no idea, terrified of basically everything, and a guy comes up to me naked just playing the guitar. It's one of my defining memories. Alright, here we are back at the supermarket after our little digression there. If we run straight in, we'll find these boxes that have food in. We can click on those, we can eat that, and then we'll have our empty can there. We can then recycle it or burn it on a campfire. There are lots of these all about the place. So if you're struggling for food or water, it's quite a good place to start, but don't forget lots of people will have the same idea. Now many of these locations will have a recycler. So the recycler for this place is just here. And they look like this. Recyclers are loud, and they are also a place where people are going to gather because they would also like to recycle their stuff. Now the things that we need right now are metal fragments because we can skip the furnace altogether and then get our sheet metal door. But obviously we can also try and get low grade fuel, but we won't be able to get this from this particular recycler. So I'm actually going to whack all of this sort of stuff into the recycler. I'm going to turn it on. You can see it's quite noisy. So it's worth trying to find yourself this place or wandering around, just keeping an eye out to make sure that nobody's coming. It takes quite some time, so you can see we've got quite a few bits there already, but still got these to recycle. Right, I've got loads of stuff here, brilliant, cool. So, is there anything else I want to recycle while I'm here? Oh, bean can didn't. Sweet, okay. I'm just going to grab this cloth and I'm going to head back to base because I think we've got enough to put on a sheet metal door. Luckily for us, because we've harvested these components, we've not needed to craft a furnace yet, and we've only got 8 low grade fuel, so that hasn't been possible for us this episode. But what we have got from recycling those components is 180 metal fragments, which is really good, and 133 scrap, which is really helpful because it can be used in a research bench or to research various tools and things that we perhaps can't do right now. So what I'm going to do is go into crafting and build, and I'm going to select my sheet metal door. Now I've got a different skin for it here. Your skins will appear there, or you can go for the basic. I'm going to create that right now. I'm also going to create another key lock because I'm going to oh, it didn't go. There we go. That's better. I'm also going to create another key lock because essentially I'm going to use this door as my airlock door. So while those are crafting, I'm going to select this, hold E, I'm going to unlock it, and I'm going to open this door. I'm going to hold E, remove the lock, hold E, remove the door. I'll put this door here into my quick bar. I'm going to pop it that way. And make sure my key lock goes into my quick bar. Same process as before. Hold E, lock, don't need to create a key, and there we go. We're sorted again. Now this door, just going to pop in there, and I'm going to open it like Yeah, I'm going to open it like that. That way, people can't get all the way into my base with these doors open. So if they don't know the key, then they won't be able to get all the way in. In fact, I can probably get away with that opening inwards. So I'll do that instead. So, key on there, hold E, lock, done. So we now have an airlock. So if we are attacked and they manage to kill us in this area, they still won't be able to get through there. Now, ideally in time, we want to upgrade this to a sheet metal door. To finish off this episode, you'll notice that it says my building is now decaying. That is because we have a metal door and we don't have any metal in here. So it's asking us for 15 metal fragments. Now, because we don't have anywhere to store things yet, we can actually put quite a lot of our resources into here. Now, things like wood and metals, they will go in here happily. A tool will not go in there. Low grade fuel, will you go in? Yes, you will go in. Crude oil, will you go in? Yes, okay, because that is a resource. Thank you so much for watching. This has been our 4th episode in our little tutorial series, and we are now set up really nicely. The next thing on our agenda is to get that furnace, because we cannot survive just by going on component runs all the time. And to do that, we're going to need some weapons, because we need to harvest some animal fat. So thank you so much for watching. Drop a like, drop a comment, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in episode 5. Thanks very much.